Oh, durka durka durka.
All right, like many of you knife addicts out there, I store my knives in a drawer. Happened to actually, before I started collecting knives, I got this file cabinet and it has this small drawer. I guess it was for documents, but I got lucky with the perfect drawer. This short, skinny drawer, but wide, in the file cabinet that's in my office. And it's not perfect, but I think I've come up with something that's pretty useful. I watch a lot of videos about knife stuff, and I've never seen anybody mention this, but I haven't really gone looking for it. So maybe this is already well known, but I got tired of every time I was opening these knives, they would flop back and forth, and then they would look like a big mess. And you can, first of all, if you don't want to, you want to do the simplest thing, I would turn all the knives over on their show side. It's flat, and you'll have less bouncing around. So forget about any of this stuff. If you just are sick of that, you're going to be looking at the clips. But um, then I decided to uh, buy some magnets and put magnets underneath this in order to keep these from shuffling around so much. So it's not perfect, but it wasn't very much work, um, and so I thought I would show it to you. So if you open this reasonably, with a reasonable kind of velocity, things are not moving around much at all. You can see if I bang it, maybe you can see what's moving. But the knives, that it's definitely not perfect, but better than it would be normally. I'll show you how I did this and show you what's underneath this black cover. There are rows, or there are columns of uh, rare earth magnets that are underneath this thing. You might notice that these knives. Oh my gosh, we're back. Had a little battery fiasco there with the light. We've recovered. So what I was saying is, first of all, this doesn't, it looks kind of messy, and that's because I'm messing with trying to get the right arrangements for the different knives to actually hold them in place. Some of them are hold in place on the show side, with the show side showing. Some of them have to be on the clip side. But these titanium knives, I'm basically having to, since the metal is not, since the titanium frame lock, these are frame lock knives, are not, the titanium is not magnetic, you've got to really kind of angle the blade in to get a hold of it. That's a little weird. But because I don't have very many the titanium knives, because I don't want to worry about scratching them, not a big problem for me. So for a regular old knife, and again, I didn't do this great, but for a regular old knife, two of these 20-pound magnets is really holding it in place pretty well. Enough. Well, how I made this thing, it's not exactly rocket science, but maybe this will help somebody out there. So you're going to need these rare earth magnets. Okay. I bought this very name brand Lovimag, but most importantly, I didn't know what strength to buy. This is a 20 pound, and I think that's perfect actually. I had a few other magnets lying around, but 20 pound, and I wasn't sure when I ordered, but I think this is exactly the right strength to hold down a typical medium-sized knife without it being too difficult. The stronger that these are, the harder they are to work with. So another important thing, so this is actually made so that it can be countersunk. You could screw it into something, and it comes with these screws. But the more important thing is this part, this outer casing, I guess it's probably aluminum, is not magnetic, and that makes it a lot easier to work with. If you have a regular magnet that's just magnetic on both sides, it's going to be a little bit hard to deal with. So this is the type that I recommend. Of course, this is a steel drawer. If you had a wooden drawer, you could cut a piece of metal to fit it, maybe. But this is metal. So, of course, I just got some painter's tape. I always think that this stuff is actually worth buying the real stuff, the 3M stuff. I think the cheap stuff isn't as good. I think this is a 1.5 inch, which is felt like it was the right size for these magnets, because when you put these strips down, you want it to be big enough to kind of hug the sides, go a little bit wider. But as you can see here, I planned out for 5 rows of knives. You'd have to decide how tightly you want to pack them. 5 columns with 8 rows. And I tried to measure it out. It's not perfect, but I just, took a ruler or took a T-square, try to keep it relatively straight. And I knew I had about a 2-inch gap between each of these, so I measured it out. I think it's nice to use the electrical or the painter's tape, because then if you glue these down, you're stuck with that arrangement. This way, if I wanted to change something, if I wanted to change what I displayed, or for example, I'm not going to put any fixed blades here, and they wouldn't really fit, but I could change it around and it wouldn't be very much work because it's just tape. So I've got 5 rows here, 2 here, and then I have this middle row has more magnets. And the reason I did that is because for the knives that have a titanium, this is the QSP Penguin, they need more strength, because again, the frame, the blade itself is always going to be magnetic. But if it's surrounded by non-magnetic metal, like this titanium, then all you've got to go on is what's sticking out. And especially if you have titanium hardware, you need a stronger magnet. So I don't have too many titanium knives, and I made this middle row to be stronger. These are 3 20-pound magnets. The other, along with, really it's 4. I'm not sure if I did this right now. Anyway, I've got more magnets here, so normally I arrange it for 2, or I set it for 2, and I wanted to do it on the pivot and the back, as opposed to these are going to be more concentrated in the middle, because there's going to maybe be more of that metallic blade sticking up in the middle, as opposed to on these ends there's not. So that was the intention behind the design. Let's see if it works. So this is just like a shelf, I don't know, stuff you buy at Home Depot. It's black. I cut it to size to fit in here. I may need to cut this out. I would recommend just having a utility blade, or this is this really cool, I wish I could remember who I bought this from, but this company's in Tennessee, and it's just all magnetic box cutter. I fidget with this thing, and this is cool. I'll try to remember, put in the comments or put in the description what this actually is. But I've got this covered. I'm gonna fix that. Oop. See, this is the risk. These aren't taped as well as they could be. But I assume that once I have this on here, and I'm not touching it, we'll be good. So, first of all, how about a normal knife? Here is a normal knife. This is in micarta. Of course, that's not going to be magnetic. But the hardware, the pivot, the clip, and the blade are. So, if I look back to one of these standard rows, I put it right here. So, this has resistance. It's a little hard to show that. But the whole purpose of this was so that when I open, shut, it doesn't move. And it's working. So that's how these 20-pound magnets work with a regular. Now, it could be almost too strong. Here's a knife that is steel. Steel blade and steel frame. And so, if I were to put this right below, it takes a little bit more effort for sure. Probably 2 or 3 times as much effort. But with this strength of magnet, again, completely fine. So, not going anywhere. Now here's the test, the real test. Titanium knife, not much surface to go on, and maybe I'll bring out another one of these to see how it works. But can we get it to hold with, I'm going to put it on top of these 3 here. Definitely doesn't have as much pull, but if I center the blade over the magnets, not the frame, the blade part sticking out, it does not hold as well, but it is better than nothing. Let's see. So you could tune it, of course. Obviously this is just tape, it's no big deal. You could put more here if you want, and maybe I'll have to do that for certain knives. But as it stands, I think it's going to turn out well. And, you know, this is useful. Hope this helped you.